The anniversary of Charlottesville is coming up in just a few days, and a bunch of people, I think Jason Kessler, have organized Unite the Right 2, where they're going to go down to Charlottesville and DC, I believe. I'm not going anywhere near that stuff. For those of you who follow my coverage, you know that I don't cover that stuff. Let me just, before I get into this, I want to make something clear. I have never covered this stuff. I have incidentally covered this stuff, right? So let me explain. I go to run-of-the-mill political events. And in the political landscape, you had the Kekistani right, these weird, memey, right-wing Trump supporter kind of youth. You had the DSA Antifa types and the left, and the protest rallies. You had Trump rallies, you had Bernie rallies. I went to all of those. And in some of them, incidentally, we saw extremists. We did, I don't know if I've ever actually been to an event where I've actually been faced with white supremacists or neo-Nazis. Maybe, but I'm pretty sure no, because actually, no. When I was in Berkeley, there were a couple race realists and some Identity Europa guys were there. So they definitely attended that Berkeley rally. But that was conservatives. That was, people who were planning on putting on a free speech event. There's going to be an event in DC for Unite the Right. I don't like these people. I think they're detestable. So here's the story. Trump supporters urge people to donate to Charlottesville Victims Scholarship Fund on anniversary weekend. And this is by Cassandra Fairbanks. So among many of the people calling for the donation, I think it's Cassandra Fairbanks. She's the former Bernie supporter, lefty, against police brutality writer, who is now a big Trump supporter. You have Jack Posobiec, Mike Cernovich, your standard fare. Interestingly, these are people who are often called alt-right, and I believe that's incorrect. People like Cernovich, I believe he said he was alt-right in the past, and then disavowed once, the white supremacy became apparent. And this is why I think people are silly to play tribalism. But I digress. They're urging people to donate to the Heather Heyer Foundation. Heather Heyer was the woman who was killed in Charlottesville last year. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. I don't care what tribe you're in. That person, Heather Heyer, did not deserve to die. The people who were injured did not deserve to be injured. No one deserves physical violence against them because of what they believe and what they stand for. Okay? There's maybe it's not absolute. Maybe I should walk that back a little bit and say, for the most part, you can go out and say what you believe and why you believe it, and you shouldn't be attacked for it. In Charlottesville, there were a bunch of people that I think are absolutely disgusting. White supremacists. There were actual neo-Nazis. I know a lot of people debate what actually happened, but as far as I'm concerned, when there are people on Twitter saying that they don't like the quote browning of America, yeah, I don't appreciate that kind of talk because I think it doesn't matter what color you are. We can all be humans together, and we should judge each other based on the content of our characters, not the color of our skin. So I don't like identitarianism, and you all know I don't. So for the conservatives that are urging people to donate to the Heather Heyer Foundation, a woman who was killed for whatever reason because of this political violence, then I applaud that. I think that's wonderful that Trump supporters are getting behind this woman who probably would have opposed their politics. In fact, came out because of Unite the Right. There's a difference between the people at Unite the Right and Trump supporters. And I think most people on the left don't really understand. Maybe not most people, but there's a faction of people in the media that don't really get that. That's something I understand. And I'm bothered by how the media approaches this. I was reading a story that said the alt-right once was a group of meme-loving, ruffian troublemakers who simply wanted to make inside jokes, and now it's white supremacy and white nationalism, etc. And I'm like, no. Hold on. The Trump-supporting, meme-loving individuals are different from the white nationalist individuals. There's a difference there. And a lot of people in the early days thought that that's what alt-right meant, and they were wrong. Richard Spencer has been involved since the beginning. He's recognized as popularizing the term. So Trump supporters, alt-right, are different things. And it blows my mind that you see these articles, like the article I talked about the other day from The Nation that said racists are, it said right-wingers are abandoning racism for their version of diversity. And I'm like, well, why are you calling mixed-race individuals racist and acting like they've suddenly come to a revelation about not being racist? The Nation wrote this article about Patriot Prayer in Portland saying that Joey Gibson, the event he was putting on, it's abandoning racism. Joey Gibson's mixed race. It's mind-blowing to me that these people can't recognize that you can be conservative and not be a racist. You can believe in traditional values, you can believe in the United States and not be a racist. And I think the reason I understand this is because I don't think I know everything. And that's the advantage. There are people who think they know everything, and there are people who who think they don't know everything and need to know everything, right? So I desire for understanding. And that means when I see someone supports Trump, I'm like, my first thought when Trump was running, I was really confused. I was like, why would someone want to vote for this guy? It's real estate mogul, reality TV goon. Like, he's a goofy dude. What about like these actual long-standing politicians? And in talking to people on the left about like Bernie Sanders, I always understood what Bernie meant, right? Opposing the establishment, standing up for your core values, opposing racism. And then when I talked to people, I actually went to these Trump rallies and said, I got to talk to these people to figure out what the hell's going on. And I did. And so I try to understand people. So I'm willing to have a conversation with people who are willing to have a conversation, and I'm trying to better understand people. But there's too many people on the left who just assume everyone on the right must be a racist. Let's get into the story, because I want to go over some of these points. Cassandra writes, as the anniversary of the deadly Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville approaches, and the organizers plan another rally for this weekend, supporters of Donald Trump are taking a firm stance against it and urging people on the right to donate to the Heather Heyer Foundation as a show of goodwill. I think that's fantastic, in my opinion. And I believe Cassandra was one of the people who's actually made this call as well. Actually, I have a tweet pulled up. She said she did. She donated to the Heather Heyer Foundation in opposition to the rally taking place the weekend. She's in her city, she says, she's urging everyone to do the same by donating $8.12 and links to it. So you've got these Trump supporters disavowing the alt-right, and it actually gets kind of funny on Twitter because Cassandra spares no one. She goes after the alt-right pretty heavily. She says, Heather Heyer was killed when a Unite the Right attendee drove through a large crowd of protesters after a day of massive political violence and hatred. The brutality witnessed on that day stunned the nation and inflamed the already extreme tension between the two parties. Absolutely. You know what? Donald Trump coming out and saying very fine people, huge mistake. I don't think Trump knew what actually happened. I think Trump assumed it was one of these Berkeley rallies where you had run-of-the-mill Trump supporters showing up and then violence ensued. And he didn't realize that Unite the Right was actually really extreme in terms of like the rhetoric of, people were yelling stuff about the Jews, yelling blood and soil, and that's extreme. Sorry, like you cross the line. Look, there were people filming themselves. I'm not going to call them out specifically, but they were yelling the 14 words. Like, do you not realize what you are doing and what you're representing? Okay, so the idea that they're somehow just regular conservatives, but you're going to go out and yell the 14 words, like, you're in a different position. Sorry. Look, I understand people who are proud of who they are and they happen to be white. And I think that a lot of the identitarianism on the left and the right is urging people to become identitarian as well. When the left repeatedly attacks, white males, I'm not surprised we're seeing a rise of white nationalism. In fact, I was told by an alt-right guy, because I'm willing to interview them, I said, why would you support this kind of stuff, posting these memes that are like overtly offensive and racist? That's a mistake. And I was told, the guy said that he was tired of being mocked and insulted for his race. And what I realized is because people are attacking him, he becomes defensive and recoils in the other direction. You rag on someone long enough for being a white male and they're going to start adopting this, they're going to find a group that will allow them to fit in. And that's a problem. And then we see, I think Charlottesville was as extreme as we can get, Well, no, I'm sorry. Not as extreme as we can get, as extreme as we should expect in terms of political rhetoric from the, I made a video talking about how Charlottesville is like the epitome of what happens with identity politics. It's identity politics gone to its, turned up to 11. It ends up with someone dying. I think this upcoming event is absolutely absurd. Let's look at some of the tweets, because I could rattle on about this stuff too long. Jack Posobiec said, announcing the 812 campaign, the 1-year anniversary of Charlottesville. Let's use this as an opportunity for unity for the USA. Donate $8.12 to the Heather Heyer Scholarship Foundation. And then we've got, Will Chamberlain says, Jason Kessler, undeterred by the disaster that was the first Unite the Right rally, is doing a repeat tomorrow in Washington. He stands alone with his cohort of overtly racist idiots. Join the 812 campaign to show that the right is united against bigoted stupidity. Look, I'm willing to hear out people who believe in what they're doing at Unite the Right. But let me just say, when you post things that are racist and insulting to me, you have to understand, you're approaching me as an enemy, okay? I try to approach people with cautious optimism, right? I'm willing to hear you out and give you the benefit of the doubt. However, if you're online posting things talking about how race mixing is bad, and just making generally derogatory comments, somebody made a stupid comment towards Cassandra about, race mixing, and I'm like, Cassandra's part Puerto Rican, dude. Like, I try to be calm and rational. I try not to freak out. There was a period in my life not too long ago where I would go on a tirade about racists. Like, I've always taken issue with people who are unable to have a conversation, but I can get angry. I try to reserve that, for private circumstances, because I don't think it's effective for me to come on my video and start screaming with the actual vitriol and anger that I feel when people question my existence. You have to understand that's not a fun experience to have a large group of people insult me, based on something I can't change. And this is why I don't like identitarians of either side, because the left will attack me for being part white, and the white supremacists will attack me for being part Korean. There's no perfect position for me among these two extremes, and that's why I just say both of you can go away. I don't want to hear it. Like, when I see someone say something like Sarah Jeong's tweets are offensive to me, not because she's attacking white people, because it's this overt racism that I feel from the extremes of both sides, and you're supposed to be the one stopping it, but you're not. You're playing the same game, and you're making it bad for me. There's nowhere for me to go in that circumstance. So, you know what? I applaud conservatives who reject racism, and I think it should be painfully obvious to anybody that just because you're conservative, you're not racist. Personally, I have to say it a million times, I'm a liberal. But I'm willing to sit down with Cassandra and have conversations in disagreement, because I think we recognize core principles that make America great. Freedom of speech, expression, the Constitution, the ability to amend the Constitution. No surprise, then, that there are people who are associated with the alt-right who are taking issue with this campaign. Some people are saying that it's just virtue signaling and it's BS, but you know what? For conservatives to stand up, reject the racism of these, unite the right folks, to call for funding someone who lost their life standing up for what they believe in, as much as I don't like the political violence, and I think people there's a responsibility when you step out into the fray and enter this battlefield. There shouldn't be a battlefield. And you can't tell someone they can't stand up for what they believe in. When I was in Portland, I told one of these guys holding a sign protesting Patriot Prayer, who was yelling at me, I'm like, dude, I got mad respect for you coming out here and standing up for what you believe in. You have every right to be here. There's no, these people should not intimidate you, swear at you, threaten you in any way. If they want to come out and say what they want, you have absolutely every right to stand here, look them in the eyes, and tell them to go fuck themselves. I didn't say it just like that, but that was essentially it. If somebody wants to come out because Unite the Right's showing up, by all means. Personally, look, when you get two big mass mobs, that's what's going to happen. And I do think the police have a responsibility to an extent about what happened there, for sure. But you know what? The only one who is responsible for the injuries and the death that occurred on that day is that dude in that car who drove that car and hurt those people. I want to live in a country where I can go out with someone and say, I disagree with you, but I'd love for you to explain to me why you think the things you do. Even if you hate my guts, just don't drive your car into a crowd of people. There's people associated with Unite the Right saying, you know what, man, it was one person who did one thing bad and they don't appreciate it either. And I'm like, then don't do it. You know what this represents. Why would you rename? I could rant too long on this, so let's wrap up the story before I waste more of your time. So let's see what we got here. I want to kind of just go to the bottom of this. It says 16-year-old right-wing political commentator and rising Republican social media star C.J. Pearson asserted that racism and bigotry are counterintuitive to the goal of making America great again. He says the MAGA movement since its inception has become a diverse collection of Americans of every shade and hue in pursuit of one common goal to make America great again. Racism and bigotry is counterintuitive to that goal, and so it is of no surprise that the most prominent voices within their movement disavow bigotry and hate in its strongest of terms. I think you guys get the point as to what's going on with these conservatives. Suffice it to say, there are many tweets from many people who are Trump supporters and on the right who are standing behind this effort to raise money for the Heather Heyer Fund. And I think that's fantastic. I really do hope Democrats, people on the left, embrace this, and we can start to mend that divide. And maybe Unite the Right will serve as a beacon of just what both sides disagree with. Unfortunately, I think there are a lot of people on the left who won't call out the identitarians on the left, and they need to do it. I often feel lonesome sitting here upset about the fact that there are racial identitarians on the left just going about their business with no problem. We can all recognize why right-wing or white identitarians are bad. Can we not do the same for the left-wing identitarians too and stop them from taking over? I don't like any of it. Anyway, I think anybody who goes to Unite the Right 2 is nuts, plumb nuts. Except for the journalists, obviously. The people who go there to fight, it's like, look, man, actually, you know what? I don't know. I will say the people who are showing up like Kessler, that is some of the most ridiculous nonsense. You've got to be a special kind of person. After what happened last year, to even use the name and try and do it twice, that's insane. Anyway, I actually filmed the videos that just came up a while back, a little bit before this, and when I saw this story, I thought I really need to talk about it because I don't like identitarians. I really don't like when people try to defend their, political position by insulting those who are not white. Racism is whack, yo. And you're never gonna win me over, and you're gonna have a hard time of trying to convince me of any of your points if you start the conversation by attacking who I am and who I can't change. I hope any of you people who are associated with that watching understand that. And maybe that's why you're not gonna come out on top in any of this. And unfortunately, I think the reason the left-wing identitarians gain so much ground is because we can all recognize that attacking someone because of their race is total BS. But they're playing the anti-racist side, and they're getting away with it. So you know what? I don't like any of it. I'm out, yo. I'll see you guys tomorrow.